Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Hare Rama Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Shri Prabhupada ki, Shri Radha Madhav ji ki, Gaur Premanande. Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Ashtapraeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, entitled Samam Bonam, Chapter 4, which is entitled The Atrocities of King Kamsa. And today's verse is verse 30, which is on the board. Akarnya Bharturgaditam Akarnya Bharturgaditam Tamuchu Devashastravaha Tamuchu Devashastraha Devan Pratikit Marsha Devan Pratikrita Marsha Daityaya Natiko Vida Daityaya Natiko Vida Arkanya Prartut Karitam Tam Uchu Devasastava Devan Pratikitam Marsha Daityaya Natiko Vida Akarnya Bhartur Gatitam Tamuchu Devasastrava Devan Pratikatam Risha Daityaya Natiko Vida Akarnya Bhartur Gatitam Akarnya Bhartur Gatitam Tamuchu Devasastrava Tamuchu Devasastrava Devan Pratikritam Marsha Devan Pratikritam Marsha Daityaya Natiko Vida Daityaya Natiko Vida Akarnya Bhartur Gatitam Akarnya Bhartur Gatitam Tamuchu Devasastrava Tamuchu Devasastrava Devan Pratikritam Marsha Devan Pratikritam Marsha Daityaya Natiko Vida Daityaya Natiko Vida
Akarnya Bhartur Gaditam
Akarnya Bhartur Gatitam
Tamuchu Devasatritaha
Tamuchu Devasastravaha
Devan Pratikrita Marsha
Devan Pratikrita Marsha
Daityaya Natika Vidaha
Daityaya Natiko Vidaha. Vaishnavas.
Akarnya Bhartur Gaditam
Akarnya Bhartur Gatitam
Tamuchu Devasastravaha
Tamuchu Devasastravaha
Devan Pratikritam Marsha
Devan Pratikrita Marsha
Daityaya Natiko Vida
Daityaya Natiko Vidaha.
Akarnya Bhartur Gatitam
Akarnya Bhartur Gatitam
Tamuchu Devasastrava
Tamuchu Devasastrava
Devan Pratikrishna Marsha
Devan Pratikrita Marsha
Daityaya Natiko Vida
Daityaya Natiko Vida. Okay, word for word. Akarnya Akarnya Bhartur Gatitam Kamuchudeva Shastrava
Devam Prachikritamasa
Devan Pratikritamasa
Daitya Nati
Daitya Nati
Kovidaha
Kovidam. Anyone else? Go for word. Akaranya. After hearing. Bhartu. Of their master. Gaditam. The words or statement. Tam Uchuhu. Replied to him. Devasatrava. All the asuras who were enemies of the demigods. Devan, the demigods. Prati, toward. Krita Amarshaha, who were envious. Daitayaha, the asuras. Na, not. Atiko Vidaha, who were very expert in executing transactions. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. After hearing their master's statement, the envious asuras, who were enemies of the demigods and were not very expert in their dealings, advised Kamsa as follows. So please repeat after me. After hearing their master's statement, the envious asuras, who were enemies of the demigods and were not very expert in their dealings, advised Kamsa as follows. Purport. There are two different types of men, the asuras and the suras. In the Padma Purana, there is a verse, Dvai bhuta sargo lokesmin devi asura evacha Vishnu bhakta smito deva asurastat viparvyavaha. Those who are devotees of Lord Vishnu, Krishna, are suras or devas, whereas those who are opposed to the devotees are called asuras. Devotees are expert in all transactions. Yasyati bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarve gune tatra samasti suraha. Therefore, they are called kovida, which means expert. Asuras, however, although superficially showing expertise in passionate activities, are actually all fools. They are neither sober nor expert. Whatever they do is imperfect. Mogasa moga karmanaha. According to this description of the asuras given in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 12, whatever they do will ultimately be baffled. It was such persons who advised Kamsa because they were his chief friends and ministers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamritam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo naishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Shatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Just repeat the translation once more. After hearing their master's statement, the envious asuras, who were enemies of the demigods and were not very expert in their dealings, advised Kamsa as follows. So, Hare Krishna, I'd like to seek the blessings of all the wonderful Vaishnavas who assembled here, all my seniors, and seek permission to speak of something use and ask them to keep me honest, because you are far more learned than I am. So I'm not really qualified to sit, like I said last time, on this asana. Last week, Tuesday, it seemed such a long time ago, and week has just gone by like this. I just arrived and suddenly I was giving a class the next day. But with mercy of my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, and His Holiness Kadambakara Maharaj, they're keeping me honest and purifying me with this service. So I take their blessings and all of their blessings. So, we know the story so far. Last week, Shandarma Prabhu gave a wonderful class about the differences between Mahamaya and Yogamaya. And this is where we had left off last week, in that Kamsa had tried to kill Durga Devi in the same way that he had killed all the other children of Devaki. But this was obviously Yogamaya. So Yogamaya, she took the form of Durga and she warned Kamsa and called him a fool and a rascal. I don't know whether she called him a rascal, but at least a fool, that the one who's supposed to kill you has taken his birth somewhere else. And so he was very repentant and remorseful of his actions to Devaki and Vasudeva. And so in that time, in that last verse, he had taken, was very remorseful and apologetic to Vasudeva and Kamsa, and took them out of their jail and their imprisonment and gave them a rightful place. And obviously, because of their magnanimity, Shri Gaurnitai ki jai, Shri Govinda Radha Madhav ki jai, Shri Krishna Balaram ji ki jai. In their magnanimity, Vasudeva and Devaki had forgiven Kamsa. So then in this verse, obviously he's gone back to his ministers, Kamsa has gone back to his kingdom, his chambers, and he's relayed the story of this astonishing event of how Durga manifested in front of him, and therefore he considers Devaki and Vasudeva as exalted personalities, because only in the company of exalted personalities such divine beings take place. And so Asuras being Asuras, opposing to the Devatas, as we've just read in the purport, that they are not convinced. They are always inimical to the Devatas. And so they would have, I'm guessing the words now, they would have said, this is a trickery of Krishna or of the demigods. You've been tricked, Kamsa. And so remember what you're supposed to do. Your death has taken birth somewhere else. So why don't we kill all the children, since kill all the children in the vicinity who have been taken birth in the last day or so, or the week or so. And that is a typical Asura mentality, isn't it? Where they harm others, they actually don't really care about themselves either, but all they want to do is harm others and in the process harm themselves. So the pillars of our sadhana bhakti are based on the 5 activities that devotees are encouraged to do. Would you like some water? There are 5 pillars that devotees are encouraged to do. And I'm sure you all know of these 5 pillars that we follow when we are doing sadhana bhakti. Any ideas of these 5 pillars? Okay, so they are kind of like that. They are the qualities. That's kind of the qualities of a devotee. But these 5 pillars is like going back to school when we have A, B, C, D, and E.
Chanting the holy name.
So C is chanting the holy name. Yeah.
Deity worship.
Huh?
Deity worship.
Deity worship. Not quite.
Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah. So B is for books. Okay. So A, B, C, D, and E. Right. We're going back to school now. A is for
chanting.
C is for chanting. B is for books. A is for association. Sadhu Sangha. Yes. Association. B for books. C for chanting. D is for the diet of prasadam. Diet of prasadam. So we only take prasadam. We only actually honor prasadam. We don't honor anything else. We don't eat anything sinful. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita, you're only eating sin. And E is engagement in service with enthusiasm. So that's double E. Okay? Double E. So this is A, B, C, D, and E. That's given by actually Prabhupada and the Acharyas. They've given this process of the 5 pillars of actually progressing in our sadhana bhakti. A for association, B for books, C for chanting, D for diet of prasadam, and E, engagement in service with enthusiasm. And then as I was thinking about this, I have added an F, which we will come and talk about it a bit later. F for Freddy, but no, it's not F for Freddy. So these are very important aspects of our sadhana bhakti. They are the 5 pillars. And the first one is association. So here we see, actually in English there's a saying, and I'm sure it can be translated into French as well. In fact, where is Mais Prabhu? He's not here. Do we need to translate this into French? We okay?
Probably
that's
got back
okay.
into the kitchen.
We okay, alright, okay. So, there's a saying in English that our character or nature can be deduced by the company that we keep. Isn't it? By the company that we keep, by the association that we keep, our nature, our behavior can be actually understood better. Because when we keep that company, when we keep association of these kind of personalities, what happens is that their nature, their character traits, their behaviors are rub off onto us. So similarly here, we see that Kamsa, though he was 1 minute very remorseful and repentant of his atrocities against Mother Devaki and Vasudev, within just few hours, he, after consulting his ministers, so-called ministers and friends, he had a complete U-turn. And this is a typical behavior of asuras. They are not very steady in their thought patterns. 1 minute they'll do something else, the next minute they'll do something else. This is very typical. So we learn a few lessons here. When we're making important decisions, we have to take guidance. Of course we have to take guidance and advice of instructions from 3 aspects, right? In our scriptures they say 3 aspects, which are Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. Yes, Sadhu, Guru and Shastra. Sadhu, Guru and Shastra is a very, very great ability to do check and balances. Yeah? So, because we read in this verse also Kovida. Now in Sanskrit, this is not a Sanskrit way of saying COVID-19, by the way. Just making sure. Okay, we're not. In Shastra, COVID-19 wasn't predicted, right? So this Kovida is very different. Huh? This Kovida means that the personality who is Kovida, who is expert, who is great at executing their transaction, great at executing anything that they do. So devotees especially are very expert. But and generally they want to do the best for Krishna. So they want to fine-tune their art. Whatever their service is, they want to fine-tune it. Here I see every day during class time or mainly class time, devotees are so enthusiastically preparing for lunch or preparing for other activities, and then they're expertly, quickly peeling something, chopping something, and boom, and it's done. And within few minutes, boom, it's finished, it's done. And so like that, devotees are very, very expert. And if we are not become expert, we will, by rendering service, we become expert in that service because we continuously do it with enthusiasm, the E, right? So we have to make, when we're making important decisions, we have to take guidance from these experts, from sadhus, gurus, and shastra. Those are experts in shastra. They are also expert in giving advice or guidance for those who are struggling with their day-to-day life or when they're making important decisions. The guidance that we seek from sadhus and shastras need to be bona fide. What does this mean, bona fide? This word bona fide, what does that mean? We often hear Prabhupada say, bona fide, bona fide. Yes. So Christopher Prabhu.
This means it's correct.
It's correct? Okay.
Qualified.
Qualified, yeah? Yes.
Bona fide is Latin. It means good faith. It means,
Very good, very good. Yes, it's a Latin word for good faith. So you are actually placing your faith, this is the F, your faith in the person or persons that you are taking guidance from. So bona fide means that they are connected, Prabhupada explained this further, that they're connected to a bona fide or a real parampara. When they're connected to a parampara, they are actually giving themselves ability to understand what is being given to them as guidance. So like that, we must keep a handful of these special devotees as friends, or they're really close associates of ours so that we can share everything and anything with them. If you have at least 2 of these friends, if not 5, at least 5, but 2, you're doing very, very well. Like it says in Nectar of Instruction, text 4. You know Nectar of Instruction, text 4? Everybody should know this, really. This is basics. Dadati patigranati kuyam akhyate prachati bhukte bojayate chaiva sadvidim pratilakshanam. Translation. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasadam and offering prasadam are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. So these are called the 6 loving exchanges between devotees who are close and they're friends and they're associates of each other. But the key ones here are also the one about revealing one's mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially. Because when we do this, that means confidentially means that okay, somebody tells you, but then you don't become, Radio France and then broadcast it to everybody else in entire France. No, you keep the confidentiality and you guide them based on your experience or based on your expertise. You guide them accordingly like that. And then you share prasadam, share gifts, etc. like that. So these are bona fide association. They actually help us progress not only in our spiritual life, but also in our material endeavors. And they also hold us back, because they are good friends, they hold us back in over-endeavoring and over-accumulating. Because we know, what does material association with material world does? Material desires. It increases our material desires, it entangles us, and it binds us into this material world. So, association must lead to spiritual advancement and not just spiritual degradation and material entanglement instead. This is what happened with Kamsa. He was actually being remorseful, taking shelter from Vasudeva and Devaki, who are parents of Krishna, really, really exalted personalities. And in just one moment of association, bad association, boom, finished. His spiritual advancement finished. He was again entangled in his thoughts of, oh, I'm going to die, oh, I'm going to die. Though he knows, isn't it true that before killing Devaki's children, he was advising Devaki, don't worry, these children are, they're souls, they're liberated souls. So why isn't he taking his own advice in that point? Interesting, isn't it? He's not willing to take his own advice of being so learned in Shastra that he knows that he's the soul immortal and just the body's going to die, and yet he's willing to kill Devaki's children. These are asuras. They are not willing to follow their own advice. They're hypocrites. They're known as hypocrites. So we must take guidance association from more than one sadhu and guru, because at least 3 gives you a good consensus when you're taking their advice. Because you ask advice from one person, a really good friend of mine, friend of yours, and then another person, and then they give you conflicting advice. So then you're stuck. Which one should you do? So then you should confirm it with a third one, right? It gives you a nice consensus. So like that, we take guidance and advice from qualified devotees who can actually help in giving us the right solution. This is another reason, both materially and spiritually. I'm sure we can think of many examples of advice given by so-called friends when the outcome hasn't been favorable. We think of some examples from Shastra of somebody who's been given guidance, advice, and then it was a disaster. Yes.
Dhritarashtra?
Yes, so Dhritarashtra got advice from?
Vidura? But it's good.
So this is the good advice that Vidura was trying to impart on Dhritarashtra. But unfortunately the demon or the asura wasn't listening to right advice on this occasion. So the good advice was there. The person taking the advice has to be the right-minded person also, has to also be bona fide. Isn't it true? They have to be ready to listen for advice. Otherwise they become inimical. Like Duryodhana became inimical of Vidura. And what did he do? He offended him, and Vidura walked out of the assembly. Went into traveling and enjoyed such a wonderful association of sadhus and sages. Isn't it? So therefore, the person we are giving the advice to has to be qualified also. So when we are in a position to give advice, we have to qualify the person asking for advice also. So in this situation, Dhritarashtra wasn't really a good qualification. But who was it that was messing with his mind? Duryodhana, yes. Both Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana were Shakuni, yes, Shakuni. Who was Shakuni? He was the brother of Gandhari, the prince or supposed to have been the heir to the kingdom of Gandhar Naresh. What was he doing all this time in Hastinapur? Meddling with the minds of Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. And, turning them against the Pandavas. And especially Bhishmadev. Why? Because Bhishmadev was the one who sort of instigated the marriage of Gandhari to the so-called blind king, Dhritarashtra. And Shakuni was very, very angry about that. Well, how dare do you marry my beautiful sister to a blind man? Why can't you marry him to Pandu? Because Pandu had also come for the Swayamvar. So he was angry. And so, like that, he was he'd taken a vow that he will destroy this entire dynasty. And to a certain extent, he succeeded, right? He succeeded. Ultimately, it was Krishna's plan anyway, but he succeeded. Any other examples of this advice, wrong advice giving from our Shastra? Maybe from Ramayana.
The spiritual master of Bali Maharaj.
Yes, okay. And spiritual master of Bali Maharaj, exactly. Very good example. Sukracharya, right? When Vamanadev came to Bali Maharaj to ask for land, just three steps of land, Sukracharya knew who Vamanadev was. He was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so he advised his disciple, Bali Maharaj, that don't give him the land. But Bali Maharaj, being a Mahajan or an exalted personality, though in an Asura body, had a right sense of mind and intellect. He said, if Supreme Personality of Godhead is asking for me for something, I will give it because it's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that means I'm completely delivered. And in fact, he was. So much so that Vishnu himself agreed to be his servant as a doorkeeper in the lower planets. In the lower planets like that. And then during which month is it? Which are the fasting months? Chaturmasya, the 4 months, the 4 months, Vishnu, he pretends to go to sleep, but actually he's going down to see Bali Maharaj and be his doorkeeper. Like that. That's what's actually happening. And then obviously we also know from later in Chaitanya Leela, Jagai and Madai. So Jagai and Madai were the associates of each other. And they were enticing each other to do wrong things. But just a momentary association of Nityananda Prabhu and seeing the Sudarshan Chakra of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, instantly they became purified. Because association of Nityananda really purifies everyone and anyone. Because they were actually became remorseful. Oh, look, Nitya is actually trying to save us from this. Why should we be inimical to them? They changed. Their outlook changed. And this is the beauty of association of pure devotees of the Lord as well as the Lord himself. So in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 16, Krishna describes in the first 3 verses the qualities of a sura, not an asura, suras, all the devotees. But the rest of the chapter, he uses the chapter to describe the qualities of the asuras. Why does he do that? Why does he describe so many qualities of asuras in the Bhagavad Gita? What instruction does he want to give us?
Warning us.
He's warning us, yes. He's saying, get rid of all these qualities from you. Envious, lust, greed, etc. All these qualities, he uses the rest of the chapter. First 3 is just for the suras. Okay, these are all the qualities you must develop. But these are all the qualities that will be in the Kali Yuga. Because Bhagavad Gita is written for Kali Yuga. Yes, it was spoken millions of years ago and understood. But the asuras, their tendencies are within us. In this age of Kali, these tendencies are in the one body. Isn't it? In the previous ages, these tendencies were in separate bodies. In the previous age to that, these tendencies, these asuras, lived on different countries. And in Satyuga, they lived on different planets. Like that, like Hiranyakashipu and so on and so forth, like that. So, we know from these descriptions of the Bhagavad Gita that asuras are always unclean. They don't always know what they're doing, or when they do something, it always goes wrong. When they have their endeavors, like, Ravana wanted to build a stairways to heaven, but he didn't succeed. They always end up doing something, but it is undone by the will of the Lord. So they cause harm to themselves and other living entities also. We have, in this Kali Yuga, we have many demons. Unfortunately, they are in their mind. In our minds also, in the same body, we have demoniac tendencies and Deita tendencies, demigod tendencies. So like that, this demoniac mentality is a very controlling mentality. You can see in today's world, right? How the governments, how the leaders of the entire world is trying to control the population. All these controlling mechanisms. How many CCTV is there in Paris, center of Paris? CCTV is the camera, for example. The cameras that are monitoring the behavior of the public. Okay, in the so-called security way, they're monitoring people through passports, through ID cards, through driving licenses, through tax records, through financial systems, constantly monitoring you because they are greedy for control. They just want to control every situation. And you know that you can't do that because we have been given free will by the Lord. And they're trying to actually take your free will away. By what? Constant propaganda. By constant propaganda of you must buy this, you must take this is useful for you. Everything material, nothing spiritual. This is typical Asura mentality. And this is what Asuras do. Wherever they go, they want to first control the environment. Then, once they've spoiled the environment, they want to control the people who live in the environment. This is what's happening right now in this day and age.
Is it because they're fearful?
They're fearful, but they're more likely so much egotistic that they think they can do that. Greedy, egotistic, lustful, and then they can think they can actually, these habits, they impart their own habits of accumulating, more and more and more. Like we see the technology revolution. Constantly, every 6 months a new phone comes out, a new gadget comes out, a new car comes out, and then they say, "Oh, you need this more, you need more, you need more." Through marketing, they even create things that poison us, our bodies, so that they can actually get a wonderful health system and pharmaceutical companies to actually create medication to cure us for our benefit. But the actual poison was administered by them in the first place. Ridiculous. You have a point?
Yeah. I recognize myself in this, and then so sometimes they I wanted to say that they think like, oh, I'm going to save the world.
Yeah. As if the world requires saving. The world is completely ready to take care of itself. Natural world, there is no way humanity, who is actually a disease to this world, can save the world. Yet there are campaigns and philanthropic activities to save the world. Let's go and save the world. They can't save the world. All they want to do is just get money, spend something to do some forestry activity or plant some trees, and then the rest is just used up by themselves for their living, for their accumulation of wealth. It's just completely nonsense. Save the butterfly. Yeah, it's flapping somewhere else. It's going to have a volcano effect somewhere else. It's like... So we know that material life means forgetfulness of Krishna, and that increases our desires for sense gratification only. But if one receives the advantage of instructions from saintly persons like Prabhupada and forgets the importance of material desires, one is automatically purified. As it says in the Shishtashtram, first verse, Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Maha Davagni Nirvapanam. Unless the core of materialistic person's heart is purified, he cannot get rid of the pangs of Bhava Maha Davagni, the blazing fire of material existence. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, I'm sure you know, 10:10:17. In his book Bhagavad, His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj makes very nice comparisons between demons and the anarthas that they actually have, or the impurities. Anarthas in Sanskrit means impurities or obstacles that they represent. And what is the process of anartha nivriti? Everybody know this term called anartha nivriti?
Nivriti?
Okay. Yes. Chris Prabhu? Relief. Okay. Yeah.
Is it detachment from unwanted desire?
Okay. Anartha nivriti. So anartha is the unwanted desires or the obstacles or the impurities. And nivriti is the destroy or the purification of those impurities. So when we do the chanting, for example, when we do our devotional service, we are slowly cleansing ourselves from these impurities. And so, as we know, Anartha Nivritti stage is one of the 9 stages of devotional service. And in the practice of devotional service, as stated by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Madhurya Kadambini, is by far the longest process. Anartha Nivritti process, the stage, is by far the longest. It could actually may take many, many lifetimes for us to go through the purification process of Anartha Nivritti. However, one can really develop a substantial connection with Krishna when that happens, because ultimately our process is to, what is our process for devotional process? What's our ultimate goal? Krishna Prema. Love of Godhead. When we do service to Krishna with love, he can instantly wipe our anarthas. He can give us that anartha nivritti stage very quickly, just through his kripa, through his mercy. Through his mercy, sight over us, vision over us, he can actually purify us very, very quickly. And therefore, Keshav Maharaj has given us a very nice way of understanding how we can go through this process of anartha nivritti. How can we actually sort of help us compartmentalize this anartha nivritti phase so that we can make progress in our spiritual life. Demons will never appear in the spiritual world, by the way. They only create havoc in that realm. Each demon in Canto 10 is killed by Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam. They actually represent an impurity or an obstacle, anartha, from preventing a devotee from attaining pure love of Krishna. Yeah, would you like to know which of these demons, what impurities they actually contain? Because it is said in the scripture that when we read about these pastimes in the Krishna book or in Canto 10, those impurities that may be manifest within us are destroyed. Isn't it nice? When we read about these pastimes, those are destroyed. And when we read in those pastimes with prayer to Krishna that, my dear Lord, I would like to know more about these anarthas, so then they are destroyed within us. So then that way, we take shelter of the Krishna book or Canto 10 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, there are 3 sections: early life, boyhood, and youthhood of Krishna in Canto 10. Putana, what is the anartha of the demoness Putana? Yes. Pseudo guru, actually. It's a guru, pseudo guru. So the question is, Putana, he said duplicity, which is kind of like, yeah, you could align Putana to duplicity, because the pseudo guru, somebody who is pretending to be a guru. There's not really a genuine guru, they are a pretender. They are someone who is trying to trick you into thinking, yes, I'm a big guru, I've got big tilak, I've got nice kanti mala and a nice garland, look, here it is. And then actually they are an imposter, just like I am sitting on this asana. And then the next demon is Shakatasura, and he's the burden of bad habits. Trinavarta, false pride from scholarship. Somebody who is well educated, they're getting very prideful. I've got a doctorate in this. I have studied under such and such guru, you know. I know so much. It's a false pride about their achievements. Sons of Kuvera. Any idea what was the Anartha and Sons of Kuvera? You know, Sons of Kuvera is the Manigriva and Nal Kuvera who became trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. You know the Damodar Ashtakam, and then they were liberated by Krishna when he was tied to the wooden grinding mortar by Mother Yashoda. So yeah, their anartha is aristocratic arrogance from wealth. Yeah. two of them, Manigriva and Nalakuvera, yes, two of them. Aristocratic arrogance from wealth. They're just so much wealthy. They also had pride, actually, of getting the service from Lord Shiva. They were the administrators of Lord Shiva. They were the project managers of Lord Shiva. And so they got prideful that, oh, look, we are project managers of Lord Shiva. No, Dev Mahadev, the Mahadev, the greatest demigod, Lord Shiva. We are the project managers. So they became quite pride. The pride was, was quite arrogant in that. Let's see if there are other ones which are quite okay. Pralambasura, lust and selfishness. In this demon Pralambasura, if you're feeling that you have lustful desires or you're selfish, you read about this pastime over and over again and pray to Krishna to remove these anarthas from your heart. And in that way, you purify yourself and make advancement and progress in your spiritual progress, like that. Nanda and Varuna, use of intoxication. If you like to drink a little bit of a tipple during Christmas, then yes, you read about Nanda and Varuna. Like that, there are so many, and if you want to know more, I have the list. I can share with you the list. I'm conscious of the time, we have 5 minutes. So I wanted to go through this very quickly, the process of Anartha Nivriti. There's 3 parts. Map your territory, apply the process, and maintain hope. These are the 3 aspects of Anartha Nivriti that Keshav Maharaj describes in his book Bhagavad. Keshav Maharaj is very, very technical. He likes to make the Bhagavatam, the scriptures, very practical in the way that we can actually apply it in this day and age in our current life. So map your territory. What does that mean? Keep a diary. Keep a journal. Ask a well-meaning friend to give you feedback about your process of how you're doing in material life, what they see within yourself. These 5 friends or 3 friends that I talked about, your close friends, your loving relationship, they'll be able to tell you what you're good at, what you need to improve on. And then ultimately pray to Krishna. So that is mapping your territory. Make sure you're writing things down. I feel, my mind is feeling like this today. I was lustful. I was angry unnecessarily. I was greedy. I was envious. This Prabhu did so well, but look at me, I'm not even progressing. Blah, 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 blah. Write these things down in your journal. And then catch yourself. As you catch yourself, you can then improve on these ways. And you can pray. From that list, you can pray to Krishna, I was like this, please remove this from my mindset. Once you mapped your territory, you apply the process. Where do the various anarthas actually stem from? Where do they come from in the first place? I mean, Krishna must have created them. Why do we have them within us? The various anarthas in our heart stem from the false identity and the vision of our life. They are roots of selfish conceptions, I and mine. We associate too much with this body and we think that everything belongs to us. But ultimately we know Krishna has everything provided to us anyway. This castle, without Prabhupada, we wouldn't be here. So actually Prabhupada has provided this to us, including the wonderful deities, which are now reciprocating with us. So everything is provided to us. So why should we be identifying with that? So when we when we understand the root cause of the conceptions of the anarthas, then we become aligned to our bhakti and the vision that we are progressing regularly. So we apply that process. Right association, like we talked about. Keeping a strong sadhana of chanting, reading, etc. And then doing practical devotional service. In our course we talked about 2 margs, right? 2 vidhis, which were those who are attending the course. 2 vidhis.
Marga, something or other, Bharga, Marga.
Hare Krishna. Pancharatrika vidhi or Bhagavad Marg or Pancharatrika Marg. Yeah? The 2 margs. The Bhagavad Marg is the the devotion serving chanting, Harinam, etc., or devotional service, deity worship. Those are the two roads our train is carrying on. Yeah, we'll recap that today again. And then finally, the process is to maintain hope. This is a long road. Anartha Nivriti is a long road. So maintain hope. Keep the faith. The road to purity is long and winding, he says in his book. There are good days and bad days. Times when we feel a breakthrough and times when we feel like breaking down. The management here, I'm sure, have these kind of days moment from moment rather than days, no? Despite our fallen condition, the unbreakable hope is that Krishna is unlimitedly kind and compassionate. And his mercy is far more powerful than any material impediment. All these things are simply material impediment. Who are we? We are souls, part and parcel of Krishna. So why are we behaving like materialists? Why are we behaving like those who have something to gain from this material body? Just to gratify our senses. Forget about the material senses, forget about that. Simply focus on our sadhana bhakti to Krishna and do the activities we can do 24 hours, keeping him 24 hours within us. So we have 3-4 minutes. I wanted to actually there's a wonderful verse in the Bhagavatam, Canto 11, chapter 20, verses 27 and 28. It goes, Jata Shrido Mat Katashu Narvina Sarva Karmashu Veda Dukhatmakam Kamam Pratiyage Piranisvaraha Tata Bhajeta Ma Prita Shraddhalu Trita Nischaya Jasu Manascha Kamam Dukhodarkam Chak Garhayam. Translation is, having awakened our faith in the narrations of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he sometimes engages in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities. So this is a wonderful verse. In that, and in the purport, you can see so many qualities Prabhupada talks about how a devotee behaves. Yes, they might fall over sometimes, but they're carrying on with faith. Keep the chanting, keep the reading. Yes, it's in the 11th canto, chapter 20, verses 27 and 28. It's wonderful. Second? Uddhava, yes, Uddhava. Part of Uddhava Gita is just after the part of Uddhava Gita, yes. So in summary, we talked about asuras and suras, how to guard against the asura mentality, and by keeping great association. Also the need to keep a few close friends, personal friends who are our well-wishers, through the Nectar of Instruction, text 4. Take guidance from Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. And we looked at the qualities of the asuras from the Bhagavad Gita chapter 16 and how Kali Yuga, these demons are in the material world have actually very controlling tendencies who are controlling us all the time. And we finished by understanding this process of anartha nivriti. So I'd like to end the class here. Just take a few questions, chastisements, corrections. Yes, Mother.
It's hard to find people who are really telling you, your shortcomings, and all other things, she's a senior devotee, I should not say anything,
Yes.
It's hard to find people. It takes some courage to tell people, sometimes you just blow it.
It takes courage to say people that, hey, you've blown it. But yeah, it is hard to find, but sometimes it is our own, sometimes what happens, I'm not saying for everyone, but sometimes what happens is our own inhibitions, our own ego that's not allowing us to approach our seniors, our peers, to ask for that feedback. If we genuinely ask them, pray to them and say, I pray at your lotus feet, please give me genuine feedback of my anarthas, so I can be purified in this process and continue on my anartha nivriti process. And we can also pray to Krishna to send us these devotees who actually can give us the right advice, who are your genuine well-wisher. Only your well-wisher will do this. Otherwise, as you say, oh, you're senior, we can't tell you anything. They're not really a well-wisher. They might, okay, they're juniors, they're giving respect out of giving respect, but your well-wishers will give you your true advice to you, like that.
It happened with my guru in public 2 times. He said, I'm Gaurangi, she's doing this and she's doing that.
But then you go to your guru and say, okay, so how am I supposed to improve with these things like this? And then they give you also benedictions. Gurus are personalities like that. Huh? Yes, Prabhu.
In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stressed also that the Asuras at the end they manufacture a way to destroy the world, Ugrakara. And we see with the example of Shishupal when he was playing chess with Balaram. At the moment when he was losing, he tricked Balaram, and he said, "You tricked.
You cheated. That's right. You say you cheated. Yes.
He told Balaram, "You tricked the thing. I'm the winner." And then he ended up by smashing the wall of the chess game was smashed, and the Balaram smashed his head. So that's what they do nowadays in politics and wars and cold or hot wars.
They destroy.
Say the other one is the culprit, and they do things themselves.
Yeah. They always point the fingers to the others.
Yeah.
But they don't know that although they're pointing fingers, there's 3 fingers pointing back at them.
You see that in so many events, the 9/11, you see that in the Bataclan. They do under the table and they say, "You done it."
Yes.
It's the contrary. They're lying constantly.
This is the thing, and this is you will also see this in today's world by the nuclear bombs that are being created.
Yeah.
Initially it was like Russia, and then US and Russia, and now every little country who are not really qualified to have nuclear bombs, yet they have nuclear bombs. Like so Pakistan and Korea and so on. I mean, these guys are not really qualified to have such weapons of mass destruction, and they have. And now it's more like a stalemate. It takes one stupid person to just let these things off, and then that's it, finished. And Prabhupada said, right, the war is going to be between Pakistan and India. It's going to start from there. Prabhupada said this.
Yeah, but they're always in war.
And they're always in war. Yes, that's true. They're always in war.
One thing is about Shakuni. Shakuni was the son of King Pak.
Yes.
It means Pakistan, Pak, the name of the king.
Actually, that area,
Afghanistan and Pakistan at this time. And because he didn't like this marriage, so he nurtured an animosity toward Hastinapur and the world of Vedic, the world of the Vedic society. And when he was a friend of Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, but the aim was to destroy this dynasty.
Yes.
And to some extent he succeeded in it.
Yes.
And it's astonishing to see that these people are always antagonistic with Vedic scriptures and India nowadays.
Yeah.
The remnants.
Yeah.
And it comes back from this time and maybe before, we don't know exactly.
Yeah.
But there was this animosity that is still been going on for thousands of years.
Yes.
And it's still manifesting nowadays.
Yeah.
Strange, isn't it?
It's strange, and I think it's a play of Krishna anyway. Because ultimately we know, and we discussed this in our course, that this material world is a playground. It's actually a playground for us. We wanted to come here and play in this playground. So Krishna said, no, come with me, we will play together. No, I want to go and play with my friends. So he said, okay, I'll create this material world as the playground. And you play here. I'll wait like a respectful father, like a responsible father. Read my paper at the edge of the playground. Keep an eye now and then how the children are playing. Until dark falls, and then the child says, Daddy, I want to come home. Until we say, Daddy, I want to come home, he won't pick us up. So in reality, it's a playground. Shakuni was also empowered by Krishna. So was Duryodhana. Whatever they wanted to do, they were allowed to do by Krishna's will. Ultimately, it's interesting. Even in this age of Kali, Krishna doesn't see a difference between the demons and the daityas. He empowers everyone according to their will. And so it's interesting. It's interesting that the whole animosity goes back so many thousands of years, but actually it's a preordained activity in this material world. It's just an illusion. Complete thing is an illusion. It's just my thoughts. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapuran ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande,
Sankirtan Priya Prabhu ki
Jai.
Gaur Bhaktavinda ki